What happens when wicked people flourish, when they prosper? Are there certain things that they have forgotten? And what kind of consequences do they face? Those concepts and those ideas are actually dealt with in the Old Testament book of Proverbs, chapter 10. In verse number 2, the wicked in his pride persecutes the poor. Let them be caught in the plots which they have devised. It's a sinful kind of behavior. It's a selfish kind of behavior. There's nothing righteous about it. In some instances, they may be stating that they're helping the poor, but actually behind the scenes, they're really not. And then in verse number 3, it's not just sinful behavior, but a scornful kind of boast that they make. The wicked boast of his heart's desire. He blesses the greedy and renounces the Lord. Can't acknowledge the existence of God, otherwise there's nothing to justify the behavior of individuals that are so disposed as to harm those around them. Let's go from sinful behavior and scornful boasts down to a stubborn bias. Verse number 4. The wicked in his proud countenance does not seek God. God is in none of his thoughts. Once again, can't acknowledge God, because if I do that, I'll be called out for the hypocrisy and inconsistency in which I have dealt with others, and the fabricated things that I have believed myself. They cannot stand rational scrutiny. So because of that, or maybe at the base of that, verse number 5, his ways are always prospering. God's judgments are far above, but out of the sight of the wicked. As for all his enemies, he sneers at them. Nobody can touch him. What do you have so far? Verse number 2, sinful behavior. Verse number 3, scornful boasts. Verse number 4, stubborn bias. Here, verse number 5, spiritual blindness. God's ways above what he's thinking, far above the analysis, the pseudo-analysis, the false analysis with which he tries to justify actions or thoughts or undertakings. Verse number 6, he has said in his heart, I shall not be moved. I shall never be in adversity. Now, for lack of a better definition, it's like there's a swelling kind of bigotry that he has about himself. Other people are going to fall into all sorts of not me. I'm never going to be caught in what I'm intending to do or what I have done already. And then down in verse number 7, his mouth is full of cursing and deceit and oppression. Under his tongue is trouble and iniquity. He speaks blasphemies against other people, against principles that have always held to be true and valid, and things that actually kind of charter the course of a nation or a community. But he disdains them all, speaking against them. Beginning in verse 8 and going through verse number 10, there's a secretive brutality that exists with these individuals. Verse number 8. He sits in the lurking places of the villages, in the secret places he murders the innocent. His eyes are secretly fixed on the helpless. The cruelty is something that's without question. First part of verse number 9, he lies in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lies in wait to catch the poor. It's almost like, again, there's that swaggering confidence that he has that nobody can actually either understand what his motives may be or catch him in his plot. And then the second half of verse 9 down to verse 11, he catches the poor when he draws them into his net. So he crouches. He lies low, that the helpless may fall by his strength. He said in his heart, God is forgotten. He's hidden his face. He, God, will never see. So now there's a cunning aspect to the wicked. The wicked have flourished. They have prospered. They have had their way against those who actually are the underprivileged in culture. And they may be using swelling words to say that we're going to take care of you, but if you look year after year, decade after decade, they haven't taken care. They've actually made it worse. So they keep saying the same lie, but that cunning craftiness is something that's always behind the scenes. So what is the wicked forgotten? Beginning in verse 12 down to verse 15. Arise, O Lord. O God, lift up your hand. Do not forget the humble. Why do the wicked renounce God? He said in his heart, he will not require an account. However, the statement is made that God has seen, God has observed that trouble and grief. God will repay it by his hand. The helpless commits himself to you. You are the helper of the fatherless. Break the arm of the wicked and the evil man. Seek out his wickedness until you find none. In fact, actually, that kind of cunning craftiness is going to come back to bite the evil, because sooner or later they'll find somebody more crafty, more conniving, more cunning than are they. And they will be the victims, just as they've made victims of those who've gone before. What do the wicked face? Verse 16, the nations have perished out of the strong hand of the Lord. Kind of sounds a whole lot like the situations we're in today. It's not just here in this nation, it's in other nations as well. Taking a position that there are no absolute truths, that there really are no valid anchors for decency or the way that a community should live or should treat one another, opens the floodgate to exactly what is described in Psalm chapter 10. The wicked are flourishing, but the wicked have forgotten a lot. And the wicked ultimately will face their own demise and ultimate retribution. Hopefully they will awaken and repent of that kind of wickedness that has been instilled within them and within culture for a long time. Please pray for our nation. Please stay safe. We'll talk again soon.